Visitor visa applications have three main requirements: purpose of visit, financials, and ties to home. These three requirements are what visa officers will look at to determine if they should approve or refuse your application. This video will go through each requirement and the relevant documents. My name is Paul and I'm a Canadian immigration lawyer. I deal with a lot of visitor visa applications, especially those who have been refused before. I had a client who was trying to get her daughter to Canada. She was refused a visitor visa twice before coming to me for advice. We made improvements to the application because I saw areas that could be improved, and we reapplied again. The application was refused for the third time, but this time I knew we had a strong case, so we applied for a reconsideration, which is a way to challenge a visitor visa refusal. 2 weeks later, the application came back approved. And so I have a good idea on what makes a strong visitor visa application. It's okay if you do not have every document I mentioned in this video. Everyone has a different situation. If you want more details into your specific situation, I'll leave a link to schedule a consultation below. Otherwise, my goal is to give you the information that you need to prepare the strongest application possible. Let's get into it. Number 1, purpose of visit. People visit Canada for many reasons. The main ones are family, tourism, networking, and business. You could have more than one purpose for visiting Canada. You don't have to pick just one, but be honest in your application. If you're coming on vacation, but also want to visit family in Canada, then you have 2 purposes for your visit. Your reason for visiting will be written in your purpose of travel letter. You can separate the purpose of travel letter into 5 sections. First is the purpose of the visit. If you're visiting family, talk about why you're visiting them and the nature of your relationship. If you're coming for business, the purpose should be related to attending business meetings, conferences, or trade shows. Talk about why it's important for you to be in Canada and the role you play in your company. Second is the travel itinerary. If you're planning to visit many locations in Canada, it's good to have a list of places you're planning to visit, along with any accommodations and planned activities. You want to outline the expenses for your trip and how much you have reserved. Also, explain the source of your funds. Is it from your job, your savings, gifts from family members, etc.? The 4th section is your home ties. Talk about your life back home and the commitments you have. You want to show the officer that you need to leave Canada. This can be your job, family, school, business, and more. Finally, at the end of your purpose of travel letter, list each supporting document that you're including. This helps the visa officer better understand your file and avoids them overlooking important documents. The second main requirement to a visitor visa application is your financials. How much money do you need to show for a visitor visa application? It's a bit of a gray area here because there's no specific amount or income required. It depends on how long you're planning to visit and what activities you'll be doing. Visa officers want to see that you could reasonably cover the cost of your trip. This includes flights, hotels, transportation, food, and any other activities. In the purpose of travel letter that I previously discussed, you would lay out the budget for the trip. To showcase your finances, you need bank statements. Depending on your country of citizenship, you may need to give 3 to 6 months history of bank statements. You can check in the visa office instructions associated with your country. As a general rule, the more funds you show, the better. You don't want to just show the bare minimum for the trip. For example, if you're coming for 5 days and you only show 5,000 Canadian dollars, a visa officer may question your intention to return home. This is because they only see $5,000 in your name and nothing else. You want to show as much as possible. This includes your income sources. If you're married, you can pool your funds together with your spouse. If your parents or close family members give you money, you can include their financials. But make sure you get a letter of support from them confirming how much money they plan to give you. If they transfer you the money, you want to get a gift deed to prove that it was a gift and not a loan. Any large deposits that are unusual in your bank statements should also be explained. Otherwise, a visa officer can doubt the credibility of those funds. An example can be gifts, selling a car, or any jewelry. The 3rd visitor visa requirement is your home ties. This is arguably one of the main reasons people get refused. It means that the officer was not convinced you would leave Canada and return home after your visit. You want to avoid the perception of showing no life back home. Any indication that you're coming to Canada to apply for refugee status will get you refused. Here are some examples to show strong home ties. Family. Family can be a big reason to return home, especially if your spouse or young child did not come with you. You should try to include support letters from your close family members. If any of your family members rely on you for financial or emotional support, mention it. That can be a great reason to go back home. I have clients who are the breadwinners of their families. Their job provides for their family. So why would someone want to leave the country, lose their job, and abandon their family like that? Now that's a strong tie to home. I have other clients who take care of their elderly parents and so they cannot be away for too long. These are examples of family ties to highlight in your application. Employment. A good paying and secure job is a great reason to return home. Talk about how long you've been working and why it wouldn't make any sense to leave that job or career behind to stay illegally in Canada. This is especially true for those who financially provide for their families back home. An employment letter, pay stubs, and tax returns are important here. The employment letter should mention your start date, position, salary, and any benefits. One thing about employment letters that I want to mention, if you can, it's always a good idea to show job security in the employment letter. What do I mean by that? Getting your employer to mention that you're taking time off for a trip to Canada or a leave of absence does a better job of showing the officer that you need to return to work after your visit. Or if you have vacation time, that could be mentioned in your employment letter. Business. If you're a business owner, talk about the nature of the business and the role you play in it. Can you step away from the business while you're traveling to Canada? Is there anyone to manage the business while you're away? Is your physical presence needed to run the business? And if so, why? These are good questions to think about. For proof of your business, you can include your business license or registration, proof of business operations like recent client invoices, tax returns, pictures, and anything else you can think of. Properties and cars. Owning property, whether residential or investment, can be used as a reason to return home. If you are the legal heir to your parents' property, that's something to mention. Now, not everyone has a home, especially if you're young, and that's okay. Property ownership alone is not a strong tie, so don't think you need to go buy a house. The same goes for a car. Everyone has their own unique situation. You have to work with what you have. That was an overview on how to look at a visitor visa application and the type of documents that you'll need. Visa officers will be looking at your purpose of visit, financials, and ties to home. You don't need a lawyer to prepare your application, but if you're confused, have been refused before, or just want proper guidance, we're here to help. You can book a consultation with me or one of our lawyers in the comments below.